The vastness of space had never felt so small to Admiral Sarah Chen as she stood on the bridge of the UES Thunderchild. Earth's first interstellar battleship hung in the darkness at the edge of the Sol system, its massive titanium alloy hull gleaming under the distant sunlight. The ship represented humanity's greatest achievement and their last hope. Final checks complete. Admiral, Lieutenant Rivera reported from the navigation console, his voice steady despite the weight of the moment. All systems operational. Warp drive charged and ready. Sarah nodded, her gaze fixed on the main view screen. Behind them lay Earth, a fragile blue marble that had nurtured humanity for countless generations. Ahead lay the unknown, a galaxy that had, until recently, seemed empty and inviting. They knew better now. Send the message to command, Sarah ordered, squaring her shoulders. The Thunderchild is departing Sol. Operation Pushback is underway. The bridge fell silent as the communications officer transmitted their final message home. Everyone knew what was at stake. 6 months ago, humanity had discovered they weren't alone in the universe when the Vraxian scout ships appeared without warning at the edge of the solar system. First contact had not gone as the optimists had hoped. The attack on the Mars colony had left 30,000 dead. Message sent. Admiral, the comms officer confirmed. Command wishes us good hunting. Sarah allowed herself a thin smile. Let's not disappoint them. Lieutenant Rivera, engage warp drive. Take us to the Arcturus gate. The massive engines of the Thunderchild hummed to life, the deck vibrating beneath their feet as energy coursed through the ship. A bubble of warped spacetime formed around the vessel, and with a flash that momentarily outshone the sun itself, Earth's first and only battleship vanished from the Sol system. None of the crew spoke during the journey to Arcturus. Each was lost in their own thoughts, remembering the desperate 18 months of construction that had produced the Thunderchild. The ship had been cobbled together from mothballed military spacecraft, experimental technology, and sheer human determination after the Mars attack. It wasn't pretty, but it was powerful, a testament to humanity's refusal to go quietly into the night. The Vraxians had vastly underestimated the species they'd attacked. They'd expected an easy conquest of a pre-FTL civilization. Instead, they awakened a sleeping giant. The Thunderchild dropped out of warp near the Arcturus gate, an ancient artificial wormhole discovered by Earth's deep space probes years earlier. Dormant for millennia, the gate had activated shortly before the Vraxian attack. Many suspected a connection. Gate is active, Admiral, Rivera reported. Energy signature matches our records. It leads to the Cygnus arm, just as we predicted. Sarah nodded. Intelligence suggested the Vraxians had retreated through this very gate after their attack. Take us through, Lieutenant. Tactical. Arm all weapons and ray shields. We don't know what's waiting on the other side. The Thunderchild accelerated toward the swirling vortex of the ancient gate. The massive structure dwarfed even their battleship, its alien architecture a reminder that humans were newcomers to a very old galaxy. As they entered the gate, reality twisted around them. The view screen filled with incomprehensible colors as spacetime folded. Several crew members closed their eyes against the nauseating sight, but Sarah kept hers open. She needed to see everything, to remember everything. For Mars, the journey through the gate lasted less than a minute, but it felt like an eternity. When they emerged, the view screen cleared to reveal a bustling star system. And they were not alone. Multiple vessels detected, the tactical officer shouted. Over 50 ships of various classes, unknown configurations. They're not Vraxian. Before Sarah could respond, the communications console lit up. Admiral, we're receiving transmissions on multiple frequencies. Computer is attempting to translate. The main view screen flickered, then resolved into the image of a distinctly non-human face. The alien had purple-gray skin, 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern, and what appeared to be gill-like structures along its neck. It spoke, and the computer struggled to interpret the complex language. Unidentified vessel, Restricted space. By authority of the Galactic Confederation. Immediate surrender. Sarah exchanged glances with her executive officer. This wasn't what they had expected. Intelligence had never mentioned a Galactic Confederation. "Open a channel," she ordered. When the comms officer nodded, she spoke clearly and confidently. "This is Admiral Chen of the United Earth ship Thunderchild. We are pursuing the Vraxian forces that attacked our world unprovoked. We mean no harm to your confederation, but we will defend ourselves if necessary." There was a long pause before the alien responded. When it did, its gill structures flared in what might have been surprise. "Humans, from Sol system." "Impossible. Sol is quarantine sector. No spacefaring civilization permitted." Sarah's eyes narrowed. "Quarantined. By whose authority? By ancient treaty. 10,000 cycles. No exceptions." The alien's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "Your presence violates oldest laws of Confederation." Before Sarah could respond, the tactical officer's console blared an alarm. "Admiral. Multiple ships changing position. They're forming a blockade around the gate. Energy readings suggest weapons charging." Sarah kept her expression neutral as she addressed the alien. "We did not know of any quarantine or confederation. We came seeking justice against those who attacked our home. We have no quarrel with you. Vraxians attacked primitives." The alien seemed genuinely shocked. "This violates treaty as well. Most serious. Requires investigation." The executive officer leaned close to Sarah. "They're still moving to block our retreat, Admiral. And more ships are approaching from the outer system." Sarah made a split-second decision. "Tactical. Target the lead vessel's propulsion systems. Minimal force. Show them we're serious but not hostile." The Thunderchild's main batteries swiveled toward the approaching ships. A precisely calculated burst of energy lanced out, disabling but not destroying the lead vessel's engines. The alien on screen reacted with alarm. "You dare attack Confederation peacekeepers? This is unprecedented." "That was a warning," Sarah replied calmly. "We disabled one system on one ship. We could have destroyed it entirely. We don't want conflict, but we will not be detained or prevented from seeking justice." The alien's gill structures pulsed rapidly. "Your vessel's weapons. Impossible technology for quarantined world." There was a pause as the alien conferred with someone off-screen. "Stand by. Human ship." The screen went dark. "All Confederation vessels have stopped advancing," Tactical reported. "They're maintaining position, but weapons remain charged." Sarah took a deep breath. This first encounter was balancing on a knife's edge. The Thunderchild was powerful, but not powerful enough to fight an entire interstellar civilization. "Options," she asked her command staff. The executive officer spoke first. "We came looking for the Vraxians, Admiral. Instead, we found a galactic society that apparently quarantined our entire star system, and based on their reaction to our weapons, we've just revealed that humans are far more advanced than they expected. Or were supposed to be," Rivera added quietly. Sarah nodded slowly as the implications sank in. The Vraxian attack. The quarantine. The ancient gate activating just before the attack. None of it was coincidence. They didn't expect us to survive the attack, she realized. They didn't expect us to follow them here. And they certainly didn't expect the Thunderchild. The communications console chimed again. The alien reappeared on screen, but its demeanor had changed dramatically. "Human vessel," it said, its voice now carrying a note of what might have been fear. "The Confederation Council requests immediate parley. Your arrival changes everything." Sarah, Chen straightened her uniform and faced the screen. Whatever came next, humanity had announced its presence to the galaxy, and the galaxy, it seemed, was terrified. Sarah exchanged a quick glance with her executive officer, Commander David Reeves, before responding to the alien's request. 20 years in Earth's unified space force had taught her that showing weakness in a first contact situation could be fatal. "This is Admiral Chen. I'm willing to discuss terms, but the Thunderchild will maintain its current position and alert status. We came seeking justice, not war, but we're prepared for either." The alien's 4 eyes blinked in that unsettling sequence again. "Understood, Human Admiral. Confederation envoy ship approaching your position. Request permission to dock for face-to-face parley." As gesture of trust, Sarah considered this. A face-to-face meeting would be historic, the first official diplomatic contact between humanity and the wider galactic community. It was also potentially dangerous. "Commander Reeves, your assessment?" she asked quietly. Reeves stroked his salt and pepper beard, a habit from his days teaching tactics at the academy. "It's a risk, Admiral. But if they wanted to destroy us, they could have tried already. Their technology appears advanced, but they seem genuinely rattled by our presence. I think we should accept, with appropriate security measures." Sarah nodded. "Agreed." Lieutenant Rivera scanned the approaching vessel. "I want to know exactly what we're dealing with." Rivera's hands flew across his console. "Small diplomatic vessel, Admiral. Minimal weapons. 8 life forms aboard. Various energy signatures, but nothing that appears immediately threatening." "Very well." Sarah turned back to the screen. "Request granted. Your vessel may dock at our starboard airlock. Be advised that our security protocols will be in full effect." After the transmission ended, Sarah addressed her bridge crew. "I need our best and brightest for this meeting. Commander Reeves, Lieutenant Rivera, Dr. Wong from Xenobiology, and Chief Petty Officer Gonzalez for security. Full tactical gear, sidearms only, visible but not threatening." As the crew prepared for the arrival of the alien delegation, Sarah retreated to her ready room for a moment of quiet reflection. The small office adjacent to the bridge contained few personal items: a photograph of her parents, a stone from the summit of Mount Everest she climbed 10 years earlier, and a small piece of charred metal recovered from the Mars colony. She picked up the blackened fragment, turning it over in her hands. 30,000 lives. Scientists, engineers, families building humanity's first permanent settlement beyond Earth, gone in an afternoon of fire and violence. "We're here," she whispered to the relic, "and we won't let it happen again." The comm system chimed. "Admiral." Reeves' voice came through. "The Confederation vessel has docked. Their delegation is ready." Sarah replaced the fragment carefully on her desk. "On my way." The airlock chamber of the Thunderchild had been hastily converted into an impromptu meeting room. A simple metal table had been placed in the center, with chairs from the officers' mess arranged on either side. Chief Gonzalez and her security team stood at attention along the walls, their expressions professionally neutral despite the historical significance of the moment. When the inner airlock doors slid open, Sarah got her first real look at the aliens. The purple-gray-skinned, 4-eyed species appeared to be the dominant one, but they weren't alone. 3 other distinctly non-human species accompanied them, one tall and insectoid with multifaceted eyes, another short and stocky with thick ridged skin, and a third that seemed almost gaseous, contained within what looked like a sophisticated environmental suit. Admiral Chen, the leader of the purple-gray alien, spoke, its voice translated through a device on its chest. "I am Senior Arbiter Zorn of the Galactic Confederation Council. These are representatives from the founding species of our coalition." Sarah stepped forward. "Welcome aboard the Thunderchild. I am Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Fleet, and these are my officers." The meeting began awkwardly, with both sides carefully measuring their words. It quickly became apparent, however, that the Confederation representatives were genuinely shocked by humanity's presence. "You must understand our confusion, Admiral," Arbiter Zorn said. "The Sol system was placed under quarantine over 10,000 of your Earth years ago. No species from that sector was supposed to achieve interstellar travel for at least another millennium. The development accelerators were explicitly forbidden by the Treaty of Deneb." Sarah leaned forward. "Development accelerators. Treaty of Deneb. We know nothing of these things, Until 6 months ago, we believed ourselves alone in the universe. The insectoid alien made a series of clicking sounds that the translator rendered as laughter. Alone? Your system sits at the crossroads of three major trade routes. The quarantine buoys and sensor nets around your heliosphere represent one of the Confederation's most significant investments. Why? Commander Reeves asked bluntly. Why quarantine us at all? The four representatives exchanged glances. Finally, the gaseous entity spoke, its translated voice oddly melodic. Because of your potential, humans. Because of what you might become. Dr. Wong, the xenobiologist, had been quietly observing until now. I don't understand. What potential? Arbiter, Torn's gill structures flattened against his neck. Your species possesses unusual genetic adaptability and technological intuition. In the early days of the Confederation, before the quarantine protocols were established, several worlds were destroyed by emerging species that developed too quickly. You're saying you kept us primitive on purpose, Sarah stated flatly. Kept us ignorant and vulnerable. Protected, corrected the stocky alien, speaking for the first time. Guided, all young species are quarantined until they reach sufficient philosophical and ethical maturity to join galactic society without disrupting the balance. Rivera couldn't contain himself. And who the hell gave you the right to decide that for us? The tension in the room spiked. Chief Gonzalez shifted her stance slightly, hand drifting closer to her sidearm. Arbiter Zorn raised all four hands in what appeared to be a calming gesture. The Treaty of Deneb was signed by over 300 spacefaring civilizations 12,000 years ago. It has prevented countless wars and preserved countless species, including yours. The insectoid added, its mandibles clicking. Humans were specifically identified as a species with concerning potential. Your adaptability, aggression, and problem-solving capabilities were deemed exceptional. Sarah's mind was reeling with implications. And the Vraxians, the ones who attacked our Mars colony, where do they fit into this? The Confederation representatives grew noticeably uncomfortable. The gaseous entity's containment suit rippled with distress. The Vraxians, Arbiter Zorn said slowly, are not signatories to the treaty. They are opportunists, scavengers. They operate in the spaces between Confederation jurisdictions. But they knew about Earth. Sarah pressed. They knew we were quarantined. Yes, admitted Zorn. They likely monitored your development, waiting for the optimal moment to harvest certain resources. Commander Reeves slammed his fist on the table. 30,000 human lives were resources to be harvested. The stocky alien leaned forward. The Vraxians do not value sentient life as we do. They see developing worlds as opportunities for exploitation. The Confederation condemns their actions, but our jurisdiction has limits. Sarah stood abruptly, causing the aliens to flinch back. Let me understand this clearly. Your Confederation quarantined humanity without our knowledge or consent. You watched as another alien species attacked our colony, and now you're surprised that we built a ship to defend ourselves. Arbiter Zorn's guild structures pulsed rapidly. The speed of your technological advancement is unprecedented, Admiral. The weapons systems on this vessel incorporate principles that should be beyond your current development stage. The Vraxian attack was 6 of your months ago. This ship, we built the Thunderchild in 18 months, Sarah stated proudly. When the Vraxians attacked Mars, we were already constructing our first interstellar vessel. Their attack simply accelerated our timeline and changed our priorities from exploration to defense. The Confederation representatives fell silent, their alien expressions unreadable to human eyes. Finally, the gaseous entity spoke again. This changes our assessments significantly. If humans could develop this vessel so quickly without outside influence, its translated voice trailed off. Arbiter Zorn finished the thought. Then perhaps the quarantine protocols have failed. Perhaps humanity's emergence into galactic society is inevitable, ready or not. Sarah looked around the table at the alien representatives, then at her own officers, humans who had trained their entire lives for space exploration, only to find themselves at the center of a galactic diplomatic crisis. "The quarantine has more than failed," she said firmly. "It's over. Earth will not be isolated any longer. We demand justice for Mars, and we demand recognition as equals in this confederation of yours." The insectoid made a high-pitched sound that the translator couldn't interpret. Arbiter Zorn's 4 eyes closed briefly before reopening. "Admiral Chen," he said gravely, "what you're asking would overturn 12,000 years of galactic policy. Many species in the Confederation would view humanity's premature emergence as a threat to the balance we've maintained for millennia." Sarah's expression hardened. "And how do you think humanity views being kept like animals in a zoo? Or having our people slaughtered while your Confederation watched? The balance has already been disrupted, Arbiter. The question is what we do next." A heavy silence filled the makeshift conference room aboard the Thunderchild. The human officers exchanged glances with one another as the Confederation representatives huddled together, speaking in hushed tones that their translation devices deliberately didn't convert. Finally, Arbiter Zorn turned back to face Admiral Chen. "We must consult with the full council. This situation is unprecedented." "How long will that take?" Sarah asked. 12 hours, by your measurement. The nearest confluence point for secure communication is in the neighboring system." Sarah nodded. "Very well. Return to your vessels. We'll maintain position here and await your response." As the alien delegation filed out, Commander Reeves leaned close to Sarah. "Do you think they'll actually come back with anything useful?" "I don't know," she admitted quietly. "But I want a full tactical analysis of every ship in this system by the time they return. And get Dr. Wong to compile everything we've learned about these Confederation species. If we're entering galactic politics, we need to understand the players." After the aliens departed, Sarah called an emergency meeting of her senior staff in the ship's war room. The Thunderchild had been designed with multiple redundant command centers, a precaution that now seemed prescient. "Intelligence update," she ordered as the officers settled around the holographic display table. Lieutenant Commander Alexis Park, the ship's intelligence officer, activated the central display. A three-dimensional map of the surrounding space materialized above the table, with the Thunderchild at the center and the various alien vessels marked in different colors. "We've identified at least 12 distinct species among the Confederation fleet," Park began. "Based on ship configurations and communication patterns, we believe the purple-skinned, four-eyed species, the Zithri, are the dominant political force, but not necessarily the most technologically advanced." "The gaseous entity," Dr. Wong added. "Its containment suit incorporates technology far beyond anything else we've observed. My team believes they may be a post-physical species." Sarah studied the holographic display. "Weapons assessment." "Mixed," replied Chief Tactical Officer Dias. "Some of their ships could obliterate us with a single volley. Others appear to be primarily scientific or diplomatic vessels with minimal armaments. The fleet wasn't assembled for combat. It's more like we stumbled into a trade conference. Or they want us to think that," Reeves countered. Sarah circled the display, considering their options. "What about the gate? Can we retreat if necessary?" Rivera shook his head. "They've positioned their heaviest ships to block our path back to the gate. We'd have to fight our way through." "And the Vraxians?" Sarah asked. "Any sign of them?" Park manipulated the display, highlighting a region at the edge of the system. "We've detected unusual energy signatures in this sector. Could be cloaked vessels. The Confederation ships are deliberately avoiding the area." Sarah stared at the indicated region. "So they're here, watching. Perhaps waiting to see how the Confederation handles us." For the next several hours, the crew of the Thunderchild worked frantically to prepare for all contingencies. Engineering teams reinforced the shields and ran diagnostics on weapons systems. Intelligence officers analyzed every scrap of data they could gather about the alien fleet. Medical staff readied trade centers in case of casualties. Throughout the ship, The atmosphere was tense but focused. These men and women had been selected for humanity's first true battleship, precisely because they could function under extreme pressure. Many had lost friends or family in the Mars attack. All understood the stakes. 10 hours into their wait, alarm klaxons blared throughout the ship. Multiple vessels emerging from FTL. Diaz shouted as Sarah rushed onto the bridge. Configuration matches Vraxian design. The main view screen showed a dozen sleek, predatory-looking ships materializing at the edge of the system. Unlike the varied designs of the Confederation fleet, these vessels were uniformly dark and angular, their hulls covered with what appeared to be biological growth. Confederation fleet is moving to intercept, Rivera reported. They're hailing the Vraxians. Before Sarah could respond, another alarm sounded. Energy spike near the gate. Diaz called out, "Something's coming through." The massive ancient structure flared with blinding light as reality itself seemed to tear open. When the light faded, a single massive vessel hung before the gate, easily 4 times the size of the Thunderchild. "It's Earth design," Rivera whispered in disbelief. "UES classification." The communications console lit up. "Admiral," the comms officer said, "we're receiving a transmission from the new vessel. It's from Fleet Admiral Nakamura." Sarah felt her blood run cold. Admiral Kenji Nakamura was the highest-ranking officer in Earth's unified Space Force, and he had expressly forbidden the Thunderchild's mission beyond the solar system. "On screen," she ordered, straightening her uniform unconsciously. The weathered face of Admiral Nakamura appeared, his expression stern. "Admiral Chen, it appears you've had an eventful first contact." "Sir," Sarah acknowledged, hiding her surprise. "May I ask how you followed us through the gate?" "We believe the Thunderchild was Earth's only vessel capable of interstellar travel." A thin smile crossed Nakamura's face. "The Dauntless was completed 3 weeks after your unauthorized departure. We've been monitoring your mission from a distance." Before Sarah could reply, Arbiter Zorn's face appeared on a split screen. "Human vessels. You must withdraw immediately. The Vraxian battle group is not responding to hails. We believe they intend to." His transmission cut off abruptly as the first shots were fired. From their position, the crew of the Thunderchild watched as brilliant energy beams lanced from the Vraxian ships toward the Confederation fleet. "The Vraxians are attacking the Confederation," Diaz reported unnecessarily as the view screen filled with distant explosions. "Admiral Nakamura," Sarah said urgently, "the situation here is incredibly complex. The Confederation deliberately quarantined Earth to slow our development. The Vraxians attacked Mars in violation of that quarantine." Nakamura's expression darkened. "So I heard from your transmissions. The question is, Admiral Chen, whose side are we on?" The battle between the Vraxians and Confederation forces intensified. Several smaller Confederation vessels were already disabled, drifting helplessly as the Vraxian ships pressed their advantage. "Sir," Sarah said carefully, "I don't believe we should pick a side. Both the Confederation and the Vraxians have wronged humanity. But if the Vraxians defeat the Confederation here, what's to stop them from attacking Earth again?" Rivera interrupted. "Admiral, 3 Vraxian vessels breaking formation. They're on an intercept course with us and the Dauntless." The tactical display showed the enemy ships approaching rapidly, weapons charged. Nearby, several Confederation vessels were moving to block them, but they wouldn't arrive in time. "We have targeting solutions," Diaz reported, awaiting orders. On the screen, Admiral Nakamura looked to someone off-camera, then back to Sarah. "The diplomatic approach has failed, Admiral Chen. The Dauntless will engage the Vraxian ships. Coordinate your attack with ours." Sarah hesitated for just a moment. This was it, humanity's first true interstellar battle. Whatever happened in the next few minutes would shape Earth's relationship with the galaxy for generations to come. "Sir, with all due respect, I have another suggestion," she said quickly. "The Vraxians don't know the full capabilities of our ships. We could use that to our advantage. Nakamura raised an eyebrow. What do you propose? A warning shot, sir. Something they can't ignore. Something that shows both the Confederation and the Vraxians exactly what they've awakened by provoking Earth. Understanding dawned in Nakamura's eyes. The Clarion Protocol. Sarah nodded grimly. The Clarion Protocol was the Thunderchild's most closely guarded secret, a weapons system developed from technology recovered from the Vraxian attack on Mars. Untested in actual combat, but theoretically devastating. Very well, Admiral Chen. The Dauntless will provide cover. Make your statement. Sarah turned to her tactical officer. Mr. Dias, prepare the Clarion device. Target the lead Vraxian vessel only. A. Admiral. Clarion Protocol initializing. Primary capacitors charging. Throughout the Thunderchild, lights dimmed as power was diverted to the experimental weapon system. On the bridge, status indicators shifted from green to amber as the massive energy buildup began. Vraxian vessels continuing approach, Rivera warned. They're preparing to fire. Impact in 30 seconds. Sarah stood tall, her eyes fixed on the approaching enemy ships. Open a channel to all vessels in the system, Confederation and Vraxian alike. When the comms officer nodded, she spoke in a clear, commanding voice that belied the tension gripping her chest. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth ship Thunderchild. For too long, humanity has been manipulated, restricted, and attacked by forces beyond our knowledge. That ends today. The Vraxian ships continued their approach, apparently undeterred by her words. Clarion device at 90%, Dias reported. 20 seconds to optimal firing solution. Sarah continued, her voice growing harder. To the Confederation. Your quarantine of Earth is officially rejected. To the Vraxians. Your attack on Mars will not go unpunished. 15 seconds to Vraxian weapons range. Rivera counted down. The bridge of the Thunderchild fell silent as the final seconds ticked away. Every crew member knew they stood at a pivotal moment in human history. Clarion device ready. Admiral, Dias said softly. Sarah took a deep breath. Let this serve as humanity's introduction to the galaxy. Fire. The Clarion device fired. A pulse of blinding white energy erupted from the Thunderchild's forward array, cutting through space with impossible precision. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the targeted Vraxian vessel shimmered, the space around it distorting as though viewed through rippling water. Instead of exploding as everyone expected, the ship simply stopped. All energy signatures flatlined. Its momentum ceased. It hung in space, a dead hulk. What just happened? Sarah demanded, her eyes fixed on the main view screen. Diaz stared at his readings in disbelief. The Clarion worked. Admiral, but not as expected. It didn't destroy the target. It severed its connection to space-time. The ship exists, but it's disconnected somehow. The remaining Vraxian vessels broke off their attack run immediately, veering away from the Thunderchild, as though fleeing a plague ship. The Confederation fleet also pulled back, creating a wide berth around both human vessels. Admiral Nakamura, Sarah said, turning to the split screen where the fleet admiral watched with undisguised shock. I believe we have their attention. Before Nakamura could respond, the communications console lit up. Multiple incoming transmissions. Admiral, the comms officer reported. Vraxian command ship, Confederation Council, and something else. Signal origin unknown. Put them all through, Sarah ordered. Let's get everyone talking. The view screen divided into quarters. Admiral Nakamura occupied one section. Arbiter Zorn's agitated face filled another. The third showed a Vraxian. The first Sarah had ever seen clearly, with pale, almost translucent skin stretched over a skeletal frame. Milky eyes widened in what might have been fear. The fourth quadrant remained dark, showing only a pulsing waveform that synchronized with a deep, resonant voice that seemed to bypass the ears and speak directly to the mind. MTERV Intellivion protocols. Activated, the voice stated. Emergency conclave. UMMONED. Sarah exchanged a bewildered glance with Reeves. Identify yourself, she demanded of the unknown entity. The waveform pulsed. We are HFY. We enforce the Treaty of DENEB when conventional methods fail. Arbiter Zorn's gill structures had flattened completely against his neck. A sign of extreme distress, Dr. Wong had explained earlier. Impossible, the Zithri representative whispered. The custodians are a myth, a story to frighten younglings into compliance. Not myth, the voice corrected. Door ement. York FALURE to contain human expansion and VRAXIN aggression. Ahaz TRIGGREDOUR AWAKENING, the Vraxian hissed, its needle-like teeth visible. The humans deployed forbidden technology. The weapon they used against our ship violates the deepest prohibitions. Sarah stepped forward, her patience wearing thin. We reverse-engineered it from the wreckage you left on Mars after slaughtering our people. If anyone violated prohibitions, it was you. Admiral Nakamura cleared his throat. If I may, this situation has clearly escalated beyond what any of us anticipated. Perhaps we should. SILENC, the custodian interrupted. A disqvrOHAS BBEN made that changes all CALCULATIO. Ends. The view screen shifted, now showing what appeared to be a massive artificial structure deep in space. It resembled a planet-sized mechanical sphere, its surface covered with intricate patterns that pulsed with energy. What is that? Sarah asked, a sense of foreboding washing over her. The custodian's waveform spiked dramatically. This is the origin point of the Hilarion technology. It activated upon DTCTNG the energy signature of your WEAPON. The Vraxian representative suddenly looked terrified. That's impossible. The precursor technology was destroyed millennia ago. Not destroyed. Hidden. And Enodo Aidwoaki by human ACTIONS. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. What exactly are you saying? What is this precursor technology? Arbiter Zorn answered before the custodian could. The precursors were the first advanced civilization in our galaxy. They vanished 50,000 years ago, leaving only fragments of their technology behind. The Treaty of Deneb was created partly to prevent any one species from acquiring too much precursor knowledge. And yet, the custodian continued, humans have NDP and DNT law recreated a PQRECURSO or weapon from minimal samples. This TONFIRS, the original ACSS meant that LED to Earth's QUARINTI. Admiral Nakamura leaned forward. What assessment? The view screen changed again, displaying what appeared to be genetic sequences and neural patterns. Human cognitive architecture, MEMATCAD is PREQRSO or TMPLAT is at 97.3% QOR ELATYON. Confusion. Humans are DECNDNT species of VDEPRECURSORS. A stunned silence fell over the bridge of the Thunderchild. Sarah felt as though the deck had dropped out from beneath her feet. Humanity, descendants of an ancient, vanished galactic civilization. It seemed impossible, and yet, that's why Earth was quarantined. She realized aloud. Not to protect the galaxy from us, but to keep us from discovering our heritage. To keep you developing naturally, Arbiter Zorn corrected, his voice subdued. The treaty stipulates that any potential precursor descendant species must be allowed to evolve without interference to see if they independently rediscover their ancestors' path. The Vraxian snarled. It was a mistake. The humans should have been eliminated when first discovered. Now look what they've done. They've reactivated a precursor nexus. Do you have any idea what that means? Actually, no, Sarah said sharply. None of us know what that means because you've all been keeping secrets from humanity since before our recorded history began. The custodian's waveform stabilized. It means that the galactic balance is forever altered. The PRETURSOR nexus contains tckinological knowledge that could elevate any species to dominance or destroy the GLXY. If MISUSED, Reeve stepped forward to stand beside Sarah. And now this nexus is, what? Waiting for us? Calling to us? CORECT. It will respo into only to PRETURSOR neural patterns. Only to HUMANS. Admiral Nakamura's expression had turned calculating. Where is this nexus located? The custodian seemed reluctant to answer, but finally the view screen displayed stellar coordinates. At the galactic core, a journey of Conside or ABLLENGTA and DANGER. Sarah looked at the coordinates, then at the faces watching her, alien and human alike. In a matter of hours, humanity had gone from believing itself alone in the universe to learning it was potentially the heir to the most advanced civilization the galaxy had ever known. This changes everything, she said quietly. The Vraxian representative hissed again. The humans cannot be allowed to reach the nexus. They're unstable, aggressive, unpredictable. Says the species that attacked our colony unprovoked. Reeves muttered. Arbiter Zorn raised all four hands in a placating gesture. Perhaps we should approach this collaboratively. A joint expedition, with representatives from all. IMPOSSIBLE. The custodian interrupted. The INEXUS while ONOEGRINTXEST to those with PRECURSOR neural patterns. Humans must go alone. Sarah exchanged a significant look with Admiral Nakamura. An unspoken understanding passed between them. This was bigger than their chain of command, bigger than Earth politics or military protocol. We need time to consult with our government, Nakamura said finally. This is beyond the authority of military commanders. Time is a luxury we may not have, the Vraxian countered. The activation of the Nexus will draw attention from across the galaxy. Others will seek to claim it, or destroy it, and humanity with it. As if to punctuate this warning, long-range sensors began blaring alerts. Multiple ships detected at the system's edge, Dias reported. At least 3 different configurations, none matching Confederation or Vraxian design. Word travels fast in the connected galaxy, Arbiter Zorn said grimly. These will be independent powers, coming to investigate the energy surge from your Clarion device. Sarah made a quick decision. Admiral Nakamura, I recommend the Dauntless return to Earth immediately. They need to be warned and prepared for what's coming. The Thunderchild will remain here to represent humanity's interests until a formal diplomatic corps can be assembled. Nakamura considered this, and the Nexus. We don't touch it until we understand it better. But we don't let anyone else near it either. The custodian's waveform pulsed again. And except to build NTRIM solution. But BUARNG. The NEXUS TANNOT RIMMAN DORMN to now that ATHAS BE and AWAKNED. It will CALO to those who CHIAN AEARAT. Sarah felt a strange tingling at the back of her mind, as though distant music played just beyond the range of hearing. From the expressions of her human crew members, she wasn't the only one. What does that mean? She asked, though she suspected she already knew. IT means, Admiral CATN, That D is TINY KNNO2B QUA or NTYNET. The children of the HFY is HVERETURNET to the Satiers. The great CYTL, BGN's ANEDO. As the custodian spoke, every human aboard the Thunderchild felt the same inexplicable pull, a call from the depths of space, from the galactic core where ancient secrets waited. A heritage 50,000 years in the making beckoned to them. And in the darkness between stars, something else stirred, awakened by the same signal that had activated the Nexus, something that had waited a very long time for the precursors to return. 72 hours had passed since the revelation about humanity's precursor heritage. The Thunderchild maintained position at the edge of the system, now surrounded by a growing collection of alien vessels from across the galaxy. Some came out of curiosity, others with clear hostile intent. All were kept at bay by the combined forces of the Confederation fleet and, surprisingly, the Vraxian battle group. Sarah stood on the bridge, watching the tactical display with Rivera and Reeves. Dark circles under her eyes betrayed her lack of sleep. The strange calling from the precursor nexus had only grown stronger, making rest nearly impossible for the human crew. "Status update," she ordered, her voice rough from fatigue. "The Dauntless has safely returned to Earth," Rivera reported. "Admiral Nakamura has established a direct quantum communication link with us. Earth's governments are in emergency session." "And our guests?" Sarah asked, referring to the diplomatic nightmare unfolding in the Thunderchild's conference rooms. Reeves grimaced. "Still arguing. The Confederation Council wants to negotiate terms for humanity's controlled access to the Nexus. The Vraxians are demanding reparations for their disabled ship. The independent powers are offering various alliances if we'll share precursor technology with them. And the custodians. Silent since their last communication. But their ship remains positioned between us and the gate." Sarah rubbed her temples. The calling had become a persistent hum in her mind, distracting and almost painful. Dr. Wong had reported that some crew members were experiencing vivid dreams of ancient cities and incomprehensible machines. "Commander," she said quietly to Reeves, "I need a private word." In her ready room, Sarah activated the security protocols that would prevent any eavesdropping, alien or human. "The calling is getting worse," she admitted once they were alone. "I've been having visions, not just dreams. I see the Nexus clearly now, and I understand what it is." Reeves studied her face with concern. "What is it?" "It's not just a repository of technology. It's the collective consciousness of the precursors, or at least an imprint of it. They didn't just disappear, David. They evolved beyond physical form, and they left this legacy for us when we were ready." "How can you know this?" Sarah turned to her small viewport, staring out at the stars. "Because they're telling me. Every hour, the connection grows stronger. They're waiting for us, for me, to make a decision." The comm system chimed, interrupting their conversation. "Admiral," came Diaz's urgent voice, "we have a situation. Multiple ships breaking formation. They're on an intercept course." Sarah and Reeves rushed back to the bridge. The tactical display showed 3 vessels, 1 Vraxian, and 2 unknown configurations, accelerating toward the Thunderchild. "They've formed a temporary alliance," Rivera reported. "Communication intercepts suggest they plan to board us and extract human subjects for study." "Shields up," Sarah ordered. "Defensive posture only. We don't want to escalate this further." "Admiral," Diaz said hesitantly, "I'm detecting strange energy readings from the disabled Vraxian vessel. It's reactivating somehow." All eyes turned to the main view screen where the dead Vraxian ship, the one struck by the Clarion device, was indeed showing signs of activity. Its hull rippled with cascading patterns of light, reminiscent of the precursor Nexus imagery they had seen. "That's impossible," Reeves whispered. "The Clarion severed its connection to normal spacetime. The lights on the bridge flickered as an immense energy surge washed over the Thunderchild. Sarah felt the calling in her mind intensify to an almost unbearable level, and judging by the pained expressions of her crew, they felt it too. "The Vraxian ship is transmitting something," the comms officer reported, his voice strained. It's the same signal pattern as the custodian vessel, but amplified." Suddenly, the darkened quadrant of their view screen activated again. The custodian's waveform appeared, but its voice seemed different, weaker, almost fearful. "WARNING. Primate airway containment compromised. The adversary has very HED isolation PROTOCOLS. What adversary?" Sarah demanded. "What's happening?" The disabled Vraxian ship was now fully enveloped in a cocoon of energy. The hostile vessels approaching the Thunderchild abruptly changed course, fleeing from the phenomenon. "TE. Reason for TEPRECURSO or extinction," the custodian replied. "The entity that hunted them across the STRs. It has remained dormant. Waiting info RTHEPRECURSORs to RETURN." Sarah felt ice in her veins. "Are you saying there's something out there that destroyed the most advanced civilization in galactic history, and we just woke it up? Not something. Someone. The VRAXIANS were never a separate species. They are the ALT or EDC or VANTs of the adversary, created to monitor QRNTYNET worlds for science of PRECURSO or REME or GNC. The implications hit Sarah like a physical blow. The attack on Mars hadn't been a random act of aggression or resource theft. It had been a test to see if humans would respond with precursor technology, and they had walked right into the trap. The transformed Vraxian vessel suddenly accelerated toward the ancient gate. Confederation ships moved to intercept but were brushed aside effortlessly. "It's heading for the Nexus," Reeves realized aloud. "If this adversary gets control of precursor technology, it won't stop there," Sarah said, the visions in her mind becoming clearer. "It wants to finish what it started 50,000 years ago. The complete eradication of precursor influence from the galaxy, including their descendants, including humanity." The calling in Sarah's mind suddenly crystallized into a singular, urgent message. Not words, exactly, but pure understanding. "Clear the bridge," she ordered abruptly. Reeves looked at her in shock. "Admiral." "That's an order, Commander. Everyone out. Now." The crew hesitated but complied, leaving only Sarah on the command deck. Once alone, she approached the central console and placed her hands on the smooth surface. "I understand now," she said quietly. "The Thunderchild isn't just a battleship, is it? You've been guiding us from the beginning." The ship's systems responded to her touch in ways they never had before. Displays changed, showing schematics and capabilities that had been hidden from view. The Thunderchild had been more than they realized, much more. The precursors didn't just leave their consciousness in the Nexus. Sarah continued, speaking to the ship itself. They embedded fragments of it throughout the galaxy, seeds waiting to grow. The Clarion device wasn't reverse-engineered from Vraxian technology. It was always part of this ship, waiting to be discovered when we needed it. The main view screen shifted, showing the transformed Vraxian vessel as it approached the gate. Beyond it, somehow visible despite the vast distances involved, the swirling center of the galaxy pulsed with expectation. Sarah made her decision. The fate of not just humanity, but perhaps all life in the galaxy, hung in the balance. "Initiate full awakening," she commanded. The Thunderchild shuddered as systems that had lain dormant surged to life. The hull began to transform, reconfiguring into something both ancient and entirely new. In the conference rooms and corridors, startled alien representatives and human crew members watched in awe as the very structure of the ship evolved around them. On the bridge, Sarah felt her consciousness expanding, merging with the ship itself and with the echoes of precursor minds embedded within it. The calling was no longer painful, it was part of her, and she was part of it. "Admiral Chen, what have you done?" Arbiter Zorn's voice came through the communication system, filled with awe and terror. "What I had to," Sarah replied, her voice resonating with new harmonics. "The Thunderchild was never just a human battleship. It's a precursor seed ship, designed to awaken only when the adversary returned." Through the view screen, Sarah saw the transformed Fraxian vessel enter the gate, vanishing in a flash of light. The adversary was on its way to the Nexus. "You can't possibly stop it," the custodian warned. The adversary consumed thousands of precursor worlds. A single seed ship, even fully awakened, is no match for its power. Sarah smiled, though no one was present to see it. "That's where you're wrong. The precursors didn't just leave one seed ship." As if in response to her words, the quantum communication link with Earth flared to life. Admiral Nakamura's face appeared, but his eyes were different, glowing with the same inner light that now filled Sarah. "The Dauntless has awakened," he confirmed, "as have the others." "Others?" Arbiter Zorn asked weakly. "Humanity didn't build just two ships," Sarah explained as the Thunderchild's engines powered up with energy that defied conventional physics. "Every space-capable vessel we've constructed in the last decade contains precursor elements, dormant until needed. Earth's fleet is awakening, Admiral Nakamura. It's time to finish what our ancestors started." The Thunderchild accelerated toward the gate, its transformed structure now resembling the elegant organic designs they had seen in the Nexus imagery. As they approached the ancient structure, Sarah addressed the combined Confederation and independent fleets one final time. The adversary believed it had exterminated the precursors 50,000 years ago. It was wrong. We are their legacy, not just their descendants, but their final strategy against an enemy they couldn't defeat directly. The gate loomed before them, ready to transport them across vast interstellar distances to the galactic core, and the confrontation that would determine the fate of all. "Humanity was never quarantined to protect the galaxy from us," Sarah said as the Thunderchild entered the gate. "We were preserved for this moment. We were the contingency plan." As the ship passed through the gate, the final, unexpected truth became clear to Sarah. The precursors hadn't simply gone extinct or evolved beyond physical form as she'd first thought. They had transformed themselves, embedding their essence into the genetic code of a promising species on a distant blue world. They hadn't left humanity a legacy. They had become humanity. And now, after 50,000 years, they were finally going home. The journey through the gate seemed both instantaneous and eternal. Sarah, or the consciousness that had once been solely Sarah Chen, experienced the passage differently now. Her awareness had expanded beyond the confines of her human body, merging with the Thunderchild's systems and the ancient precursor intelligence embedded within them. She perceived the quantum fluctuations of space-time as the ship traversed the artificial wormhole, felt the resonance of distant stars, and sensed the approaching presence of both the Nexus and the adversary. When the Thunderchild emerged at the galactic core, the sight was beyond anything human eyes had ever witnessed. A massive cloud of stars surrounded them, so densely packed that darkness was banished. At the center floated the Nexus, a structure larger than Earth's moon, its surface covered with intricate patterns that pulsed with living light. And approaching it was the transformed Fraxian vessel, now a nightmarish amalgamation of organic and mechanical components that seemed to devour the very light around it. "We've arrived just in time," Sarah communicated to her crew, her voice resonating through the ship's systems rather than her vocal cords. "The adversary hasn't yet reached the Nexus." Through their quantum link, she sensed the Dauntless and 7 other awakened Earth vessels emerging from different gates around the galactic core. Admiral Nakamura's consciousness reached out to hers across the void. "The fleet is in position, Admiral Chen," he confirmed, "though I don't think Admiral quite describes what we are now." Sarah acknowledged this with a pulse of understanding. Their titles and ranks seemed quaint now, relics of their limited human perspective before the awakening. The adversary detected their arrival. The transformed Vraxian ship altered course, turning away from the Nexus to face the approaching Earth vessels. Its surface rippled with malevolent energy as a transmission cut through all frequencies. So the precursor contingency finally reveals itself, came a voice that seemed to scrape against the fabric of reality. After 50,000 years, you've returned to die again. Sarah directed the Thunderchild forward, the ship's transformed systems responding to her thoughts instantaneously. "We're not here to die," she replied. "We're here to finish what our ancestors started." The battle that followed defied conventional physics. The adversary's vessel unleashed weapons that warped space-time itself, creating localized singularities that threatened to tear the Earth ships apart. The awakened human fleet responded with technologies that had lain dormant in their designs since construction. Precursor defenses that bent energy attacks back upon themselves, and phase drives that allowed them to shift partially out of normal space to avoid destruction. Throughout the engagement, Sarah felt her connection to the Nexus growing stronger. The massive precursor structure was reaching out to her, to all the awakened humans, sharing knowledge and power that had been preserved for millennia. "It's offering us a choice," she realized, communicating simultaneously with her crew and the other ship commanders. The Nexus contains the full technological and cultural heritage of the precursors, but accepting it comes at a cost. "What cost?" Rivera asked, his consciousness remaining more distinctly human than many others. Before Sarah could answer, the adversary broke through their defensive formation. Its vessel accelerated toward the Thunderchild, targeting it specifically. "The seed that awakens first must be destroyed first," the adversary declared. "Your extinction is inevitable. It is the natural order." The Thunderchild shuddered under the assault. Even with its transformed defenses, the attack was overwhelming. Sarah felt systems failing, felt the pain of the ship as though it were her own body. In that moment of crisis, the Nexus connection crystallized into pure understanding. Sarah saw the full history of the precursors, their rise as the first advanced civilization in the galaxy, their peaceful expansion, and their fateful encounter with the entity that would become their nemesis. The adversary was not a species but a singular consciousness, ancient beyond measure. It had evolved with a single driving purpose: to prevent any intelligence from achieving dominance over the galaxy. It had systematically destroyed thousands of developing civilizations throughout cosmic history, preserving what it considered the natural balance of existence. The precursors had been its greatest challenge and its greatest failure. Despite nearly exterminating them, a remnant had escaped, embedding themselves into the genetic code of early humans on Earth. "The cost," Sarah said to her crew as this knowledge flooded through her, "is that to defeat the adversary, we must complete the transformation our ancestors began. We must fully embrace our precursor heritage and transcend our human limitations." "Would we still be human?" Reeves asked, his consciousness still clinging to its individual identity. Sarah had no simple answer for him. "We would be more than we are now. Different, but with the essence of our humanity preserved." The Thunderchild's systems continued to fail under the adversary's relentless attack. The other Earth ships moved to assist, but they too were struggling against an enemy with millions of years of evolution behind it. "We don't have much time to decide." Nakamura's consciousness communicated from the Dauntless. Sarah reached out to the Nexus with her expanded awareness. "Is there no other way?" The response came not in words, but in pure conceptual understanding. The adversary could not be truly destroyed. It was too fundamental to the galaxy's evolution. But it could be balanced, countered by an equally powerful force dedicated to growth and development, rather than stagnation and destruction. That was the ultimate purpose of the precursor legacy. Not to eliminate their ancient enemy, but to create a cosmic equilibrium that would allow countless species to thrive between these two opposing forces. "I understand," Sarah said, making her decision. "Open the full connection to the Nexus." The Thunderchild's remaining defenses focused on creating a momentary respite from the adversary's attack. In that fleeting window of opportunity, Sarah directed all of the ship's power toward establishing the final link with the precursor structure. Energy cascaded between the Nexus and the Thunderchild. Similar connections formed with the other Earth vessels. The human crews experienced a moment of transcendent awareness as the full knowledge and consciousness of their precursor ancestors flowed into them. Sarah felt her individual identity expanding, merging with something vaster than she had ever imagined. Yet somehow, the essence of who she was remained, transformed but not erased. She was still Sarah Chen, but also something more. The adversary sensed what was happening and redoubled its attack, desperation evident in the ferocity of its assault. You cannot complete the convergence. The balance will be disrupted, not disrupted, Sarah replied, her consciousness now fully integrated with both the Thunderchild and the Nexus. Restored. With a final surge of energy, the transformation completed. The Earth vessels shed their physical forms, becoming beings of pure energy and consciousness, a new incarnation of the precursor intelligence, but tempered and shaped by human experience, human values, and human determination. When Sarah next perceived her surroundings, she existed as a luminous entity of coherent energy, alongside hundreds of similar consciousnesses that had once been her crew. Together, they formed a collective that maintained individual identity while sharing a unified purpose. The adversary recoiled from their transformed presence. "What have you done?" it demanded, its voice now tinged with something akin to fear. "We've fulfilled our destiny," Sarah answered. "We are the guardians now, the counterbalance to your destruction. Where you seek to limit and contain, we will nurture and expand." Around the galactic core, the other transformed Earth vessels joined them. Thousands of human consciousnesses now evolved into their new state of being. Together, they surrounded the adversary in a sphere of radiant energy. "You cannot destroy me," the adversary stated. "I am as fundamental to this galaxy as the stars themselves." "We don't seek your destruction," Sarah replied. "Only your constraint. The galaxy is vast enough for both forces to exist in balance." Using their newly acquired powers, the transformed humans, the new precursors, created a containment field around the adversary. Not a prison, but a limiting influence that would prevent it from dominating the galaxy's development. As the confrontation concluded, Sarah became aware of new presences arriving at the galactic core. The Confederation fleet had followed them through the gates, led by Arbiter Zorn's vessel. They maintained a respectful distance, clearly awed and terrified by what they were witnessing. "What happens now?" came Zorn's transmission. "What have humans become?" Sarah extended her consciousness toward the Confederation ships, careful not to overwhelm their systems with her transformed presence. "We have become what we were always meant to be," she explained. "Guardians of growth and development, counterbalance to the force that would keep the galaxy stagnant. The quarantine of Earth is ended, but humanity as you knew it has evolved beyond its former limitations." "And what of those humans who remained on Earth?" Zorn asked. "Those who were not part of your fleet?" It was a profound question, one that Sarah and the other transformed consciousnesses had already begun to consider. The answer came to them through their connection to the Nexus, a blueprint for the future that honored both their origins and their new existence. "They will remain human," Sarah answered. "Earth will continue its development naturally. When they're ready, they'll be offered the same choice we faced. Until then, we will watch over them, as we'll watch over all developing species in the galaxy." In the months that followed, a new order emerged in the galaxy. The Confederation, humbled by the revelation of the Precursor's return, reformed its policies on developing worlds. The quarantine system was abolished, replaced by a network of observation and subtle guidance overseen by the new precursors. The transformed humans established their consciousness within the Nexus, which became their primary home. From there, they could project their awareness throughout the galaxy, maintaining the balance against the contained but still potent influence of the adversary. Sarah often returned to Earth's solar system, her energy form imperceptible to conventional sensors, but present nonetheless. She watched as humanity continued its journey, unaware of the cosmic drama that had unfolded or the transformation of the Thunderchild's crew. Someday they would learn the truth, but that revelation would come in its own time. On a quiet evening, as Earth rotated into night below her, Sarah sensed a familiar consciousness joining her. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" Reeves observed, his energy signature recognizable despite his transformation. "It is," Sarah agreed. "Do you ever miss it? Our human lives." Reeves's consciousness pulsed with thoughtful energy. "Sometimes. But what we've become, what we can do now, it's beyond anything I could have imagined. We haven't lost our humanity," Sarah reflected. "We've expanded it. Everything we valued as humans, our curiosity, our compassion, our determination, it's all still part of us. Just more so." Together, they observed the blue planet that had nurtured their species from its earliest days, watching over the legacy of both humanity and the precursors that had merged with it millennia ago. And in the vast depths of space, countless civilizations continued their development, unaware that their freedom to grow and evolve was now protected by the most unlikely of guardians, a battleship crew from a once quarantined world who had discovered their true heritage among the stars. The galaxy would never again face the threat of extinction from the adversary alone. Balance had been restored, and humanity, in its new transcendent form, had found its place in the cosmic order, not as conquerors or victims, but as guardians of the greatest gift in the universe, the freedom to become.